Hey, what's going on everybody? Today we have another great vehicle to cover, the JPX, the wannabe to the Agrale. Strap in, let's go. JPX Montez do Brasil was a company created back in 1992 by rich boy businessman Eike Batista with the goal of creating a Jeep used in his manufacturing mining conglomerate business, and also with the aim of dipping into the civilian sector of the 4x4 niche market. Gotta make that money. Eike Batista searched the world over to find some vehicle that would be just right to bring to Brazil, something that he wouldn't have put a lot of research and development into, something that he could just stick some Brazilian parts into and send it out the door, make that money. And he I can't say this with a straight face, he got the vehicle from France. He went to France of all places and picked up their military vehicle and said, this is the vehicle for me. I mean, it looks cool, but it's French. Okay. French military vehicles. I got the contract from France and began manufacturing these in the state of Minas Gerais, a modified version using some Brazilian parts and some French parts. The Montez Jeep hit the market in '94. 2 years after imports were already coming into the market. This was a nationalized version of the French A3, a Jeep used mainly by the French military. And once again, several other parts from other nationalized, Brazilian nationalized vehicles made up the mechanical components. This was to lower cost and facilitate pieces for replacement. You know, you gotta get your replacement parts somewhere. But the powertrain was entirely imported. Initially, it had the Peugeot XU-A9A. Why would you name a motor that? That's a horrible name for a motor. It had a Peugeot BA 7.5 gearbox with Carros brand axles and differential. So what that means is your big main working components sucked. I will say it did have an excellent set of suspension based on the helical spring setup that it had. Very good, giving it excellent off-road performance. The Brazilian army did sample a small number of these, but based on the performance of the Agrale, the JPX was significantly inferior, and the Brazilian forces stuck with the Agrale contract. This did have the effect of giving JPX some well-needed publicity, got a little bit more visible in the public eye. '95 saw the release of the Montez pickup. This did come with a wood or steel bed for a more industrial or agricultural use. You know, really for heavy work in difficult terrain. Now, the level of comfort and finish, it was modest, it was okay, it wasn't anything to scuff at, it was pretty good. But the competition for the JPX was mainly dominated by trawler. Think about it, at this time, you had imports already coming into Brazil since '92. You saw the release of the Suzuki Samurai, the Toyota Hilux 4x4 edition, the Lada Nivea, you know, just some really great 4x4 vehicles were coming into Brazil 2 years prior to the release of the JPX. The market was already flooded. So trawler in the civilian sector, Agrale in the military sector, Toyota Bantaradas kicking it around the place, Ford 4x4s, there was Ford 4x4s here. Yeah, there was just already a well-established 4x4 market here in Brazil by the time rich boy Eike Batista came up with his golden plan. You know, out of the gates, I gotta be a little bit more fair to the JPX. It had everything to be an absolute sales success. It had pedigree. It had money backing it up. It was released into a country with compromised highways, nothing You know, there were a lot of highways here that weren't finished, just going to a mudded road with terrain ideal for 4x4. Brazil has some of the most beautiful trails, especially in the interior of Brazil. Eike Batista's idea of building a factory in Minas Gerais was based on a highly puffed up, overly estimated sales numbers. They thought they were going to sell like 600 of these a month, which ultimately never materialized. And that really shows that Eike Batista was very unfamiliar with the market that he was getting into. I know what happened. Little rich boy, never been out for some hillbilly fun in the mud, and somebody took him out for some 4x4 trails, and he fell in love with it. He was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I need this for my company. I'm gonna sell these to people. I'm gonna sell hundreds of these every month because everybody wants one of these. It shows that he had no idea of the market that he was diving head first into. The manufacturing plant, it never reached the sales number that they could do. And many of these vehicles sat in the yard unsold, collecting dust and rust. And this was even with the production numbers being far lower than what was initially planned. Eike Batista even tried to export these to the Middle East, Africa, to militaries over there, trying to sell them off these, but it was in direct competition, especially in the Middle East with Injeza. And why would they want a Brazilian military Jeep that was a French Jeep that they could just go buy in France for cheaper than importing it? It didn't make sense. And the nail in the coffin was the technical problems in the heating department. The engines got hot. On top of that, the lack of preparation of the dealership to deal with these problems. And this garnered JPX a super sour reputation. It's clear that Eike was not a car guy, because if he was, he would have learned the lesson from the Dodge 1500. A rushed production, low quality, compounded with that bad reputation, spells death for any vehicle here in Brazil. With the drop in sales, the internal crisis worsened, and the decision came to cease production, paralyze production, chop it off at the knees. This occurred in '96, and with these decisions to stop activities, stop production, more problems arose. And suppliers and dealers were threatening legal action due to breach of contract. I'm gonna sue you! Due to the problems because of the shutdown by Eike Batista, he decided to start activity, start fulfilling his obligations, his business contract obligations. However, he kept production numbers to a minimum, and he kicked this off in '97. Of course, at this point, with the bad reputation, the financials just weren't coming in. Sales were through the floor, no good. And then fast forward to 2001, sales were done, factory was shut down. Call it quits. They had even released a Jeep a year before with a better engine. I think this one had an intercooler. So they made the upgrades eventually, but way too late. This should have been done within the first months of production. About a little less than 3,000 of these JPX made it through production. So there's a little less than 3,000 out there on the road. Definitely a Brazilian collectible. Absolutely, in 2002, they shut down the factory. And according to inside voices, not those type, Ike boy, Ike completely lost interest due to all the financial loss. It was said that he went 40 million into the red. 40 million into the red. That was the financial loss Ike boy took. Ouch. But you know, contrary to many rumors at this time, it never went into bankruptcy. That's something going for him. All the other Brazilian nationalized vehicles basically went through bankruptcy, but not Ike. So thumbs up to you, sir. However, there were the really bad reputation, image problem that was there. You know, nobody wanted to be seen in the JPX. And the horrible, unprofessional posturing of the JPX manufacturer. the legacy of the JPX Montez is really a bittersweet chapter in Brazilian nationalized vehicles. A story of what happens when a brilliant mechanical design hits the harsh reality of industrial logistics.
Yes! No!
On paper, the Montez JPX was a triumph. It had everything to succeed. A nimble, modern, military-cool, nationalized 4x4, possessing a rugged soul of the French Legionnaire, a massive financial backing of one of the world's most ambitious men. Yet, as the story shows, even the most capable 4x4 cannot navigate the dangerous terrain of a soiled reputation. Ultimately, the JPX didn't fail because it wasn't tough enough. It failed because of the little things. It's always the little things that kill you. You know, a radiator's capacity, a cooling hose, and a dealership network that was not ready to take care of a specialized machine. The JPX serves as a cautionary tale how a $1 million business could go off the rails, being brought to a grinding halt of a few degrees of engine heat and a lack of technical foresight. Today, these surviving JPXs are just not cool 4x4s. They're the fingerprints of a man's dream, Eike Batista's dream. Tell me what your guys' dream are down in the comments. What would you build if you had unbelievable amounts of money like Eike Boy? I would like to know. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. Please be a part of this. It would really mean everything to us here on the Lou Damon channel. But like I always say, I'll see you on the flip side. Until la próxima. Ciao, ciao.
Holy.